take you for a walk through Waterville Campground. I'll show you all the individual sites that are there. So when you pull in, the road's going to zigzag a little bit, and then you're going to come up to the host site. But before the host site, you will come up to the billboards. Let's go see what the billboards show. So here are all the rules to the campground and the map of where you are in the whites, and those are called Iron Rangers. So they're self-serve campgrounds, off hours, but there's always a camp host who oversees it and double checks, make sure everybody signs in and pays. So it's always best if they are here to check in. They're normally the first site, and he's right on the right here. They're normally is best to check in with them as soon as you get here, and they'll show you what campsites are open, which ones are reserved, or if you have one reserved, which I strongly recommend, they'll show you where it is. So we're going to walk in a little bit farther. Now we're into the campground, and on the right hand side, like I said, is the host. Actually, if we look to the left, there is the first pit toilet right there. So come back across. This is the host site, and they sell firewood, and he actually has drinkable water in those jugs over there. Those are 5 gallons of drinkable water that is probably filtered. So, and this is a host site. Every campground has a host site. So the first available campsite past the host, it appears to be site number 3. Small little site. Back your car in, set up a tent. So this is site number 3. And then this is where you have to go clockwise. So we're going to go to the left, do a big loop. Site number 2, which is the first one on the left. It's a very small site. For being so close, it is actually pretty private. But this is site number 2. First one on the left in a lollipop. The next site in is number 4, and it's actually a very large, deep site. You could definitely back in a nice camper in here. Definitely on an angle. This is definitely going uphill to the flat spot where the picnic table is. But it's definitely a larger site for a larger vehicle. So this is site number 4. Directly across from site 4 is an inner site, which is number 5. And it's within that circle. So you can see all the picnic tables. There's one off to the right. There's this picnic table. There's 1 or 2. There's actually one straight back and straight over to the left. So definitely not much privacy within here. But this is site number 5. Good for a tent or a small camper if you backed it all the way into that flat spot right there. Directly next to site number 5 is the next pit toilet. Women are on the left, men are on the right. And then directly across from this is site number 6. Here is site number 6, directly across from that pit toilet. It's a very large, definitely a very large site. Site number 8 is on the left, and it is actually a very small site, but definitely private because it's on the outside edge and pretty flat. Couple large dead white pines that you got to watch out for, widowmakers, but it is definitely a flat site. Nice little site for you. Next we have number 9 on the left, outside edge. This is a very deep private site. This is definitely nice and deep, and definitely flat. This whole site is very, very flat. Site number 9. Site number 10 is on the left. Same side as number 9. It's on the outside of the loop. This is actually the site that I first got the very first time I stayed here. And it was very, very private, very flat. My truck camper fit in here, no problem, obviously. And even once you get in here, you have this huge flat circle. So this is definitely a very nice site. This is number 10. Now we're back on the inside of the circle. Site number 11 is on the right-hand side coming in. It's within the circle. You got the pit toilet out through that little clearing right there. This is definitely a flat site. If you know how to drive, you could definitely get a camper in here. You can't put a 30-footer in here. They have limitations. They'll say on the website what size camper fits. But nice site, nice and flat, 11, but it's within the inside. Right between 11 and 13 is another water pump. And the way this pump works is you basically start pumping that big green handle and you lift that little brass knob up and it diverts the water out the bottom there so you can fill up a bucket. So this is between 11 and 13. Now, one reason they have that no washing stuff here is because some people do drink this water and you don't want to contaminate it. So let's see what kind of water we get. So here's your drinking. There. That'll work. Bring 5-gallon pails here and we'll bring them back to fill up the camper. Site number 12, it's an outside site. This site goes up. This driveway is on an angle up, but once you get up here to the picnic table level, it's pretty flat. So this is more of a tent site, I would assume, or I would recommend. Definitely not recommend a camper in this one. Number 13 is within the circle, within that lollipop. It is a flat site. The water pump is to my right. This one here, if you had noisy neighbors in 11, you can see that on the picnic table right there. So this would be well, yeah, you could put a small camper van or something in here, but it would definitely be something if you had noisy neighbors right there, because it's with it. Like I said, it's inside the inside circle, not much privacy on these. So after you leave site 13, to complete the circle to leave, you go this way, but we're gonna go left at the dumpster. And if you go left at the dumpster, that's just basically a little dead end street that has the best campsites on it. So these are very hard to get. Believe it or not, these are always reserved, especially on weekends. But it is definitely the best place to get if you can get them. So the next site is 14, which is going to be the first one on the left after you go to the far side of the circle. When you take that hard left-hand turn, this is going to be the first one. Site number 14, very wide open, very flat. You can do anything you want in this one. It is nice, easy access. So that's 14. So the numbers are not going to be in order anymore because I am walking one direction. I'm not going to go up and down the street, this little entranceway. But anyways, the next one after 14 would be on your left. On your right is site 20. And the site is actually back there. And this is where you park. So you park here, and the campground area, like the tent and the picnic table, in that far back left-hand corner. Sorry to stick my papers in the camera there, but so this one is definitely a tent site, but you could hear the water. That backs right up to the water. But it also has a pit toilet right next to it, as you could see on the left. Working our way down the road, we have site 15 on the left. It's again a large flat site. Not too bad. You can actually see where I am, and that's the closest. That's my camper way over there. So with 15, you have site 14 to your left, and you really can't even see them. So 15 is not a bad site. Not bad. Directly across from 15, you have another pit toilet. You have a men's side and a women's side. And directly behind it is that site 20, I do believe. You definitely don't want that site. That's just because the pit toilet's right here, and you could smell it coming out these stacks. So, but this is a pit toilet, and you have the river behind it. And then just to the left of the pit toilet in this field is another campsite over there. We're going there next. So if you don't know what a pit toilet is, it is basically, there's this campsite right there. That's definitely a site you don't want. It is basic. There's a men's and women's. They're handicap accessible, it looks like. But what a pit toilet is, you can already smell it, is, put you on wide angle. I have not looked in here yet this year. It is basically a hole in the ground with a toilet. That's it. That's all it is. I'm not going to open that up. There's no running water, no nothing. But if you have a tent, it's a lot better than not having one at all. So you kind of try to keep it clean for everybody. The host cleans them, but no use in making a mess out of something that's not needed. Now we're up to number 19. 19 is directly next to the pit toilet. Let me turn slowly. There's your pit toilet. Come back this way. But these are nice because you got the river, especially if you're a fisherman, or you can sleep with that gray noise. It's very relaxing, very flat. Picnic tables off to the side in between the white pines. Here is site number 18 on the right. I'm at the end of that little driveway road. This is site 18. You could definitely back in here. The only problem is this is 18 and you got that next site right there. So this is kind of like a combination site. If you had a large party, I would have them take these two sites. But this is 18. So if that's 18, we're gonna go to the left. I'm just pivoting. That is a pathway right there for all the campers to go down to the river without walking through people's campsites. But I'm gonna pivot, pivot, pivot. And we get to number 17, which is the farthest site in the campground. The farthest one away. It's down at the end of the road. And is definitely private. 17 would definitely be my second favorite site. Maybe even my first favorite site, 17 here, because it is completely by itself down here. Perfectly flat. Well, not perfectly, but as flat as you can get. And it has its own path down to the river right over there. So this would be my second choice, my first or second choice of a site, especially with a camper or a large tent or multiple vehicles. So now we're walking out of 17 and there's only one site left, and that is site 16, and that's where I am set up right there. So to my left is 18, right there is 18, and the walking trail to the river is right there. So go back this way, and here's site 16. Very private, end of the road. Not as private as 17, obviously, because I have one site next to me, but it is definitely at the end. It's quiet, except for the highway that's through the woods there. And this is site 16. So this is my favorite site. I like this site the best. I don't know why, but I do. Got a nice little fire pit here. And I'm all set. My camper's all set up. So here is the beginning of site 22. You got a boulder right here, so it'd be good for tent camping or a truck camper, but definitely a large site for tents if you had a large family with a bunch of tents. Here's site 21. This is inside the circle. Large, semi-flat. You can get a larger vehicle in here, a couple vehicles. Not bad. This is within the circle. Sorry about the sun glare. This is site 23. Once again, they have the boulders to prevent the vehicles from going too far in. But this is definitely another large flat site. You got that whole big flat area here and over here. So plenty of room for large get-togethers. Site 24, another inside the circle site. Large and flat. There is the other inside circle, inside one there, and over in this direction, the back side of that campsite over there. So this one, you really don't have that much privacy, and I think that's the pit toilet right there. Here's site 25. Once again, they have the boulders. It appears that the side with the river behind it, they all have the boulders because the river is down that way. But it's, again, a large tent site. Definitely tent site with a bunch of kids or volleyball or whatever you want to do. It's definitely large. Site 26, inside the circle. And there's already a chipmunk in here. The inside circle ones definitely don't have a lot of privacy. I definitely will, that is noticeable on all of the inside ones. If you want privacy, you got to go with the outside circle. Here's one of the water pumps. Waterville Campground, the former Waterville Campground located 1 mile south of here, was destroyed by floods in October 1959. The present campground was built in 1960. This was made possible through the cooperation of the Waterville Valley Inn, White Mountain National Forest. And here is how you get your water. They say don't drink it, just because it's high in metal, but it's good for showers and washing up and stuff like that. I think there's 3 or 4 water wells around here. Definitely 2. I know there's definitely 2 water wells like this. All right, site 27's on my left. This is the last site out. So this is the way you come in, and it does a big circle. And as I was saying before, all the circle sites, the inner sites, are all within that circle. So this site on my left that I'm going to slowly turn toward is going to be the last site. This is 27. So once again, it has the boulders, small little tent site. You can put a tent on this end or the other end over there. This is site number 27. So I hope this helps you pick your campsite, which campsite is going to work for your setup. This campground does not have electricity, it does not have running water, and it does not have flush toilets, and does not have showers. So if you could live without that, this is definitely my favorite place to go. I have an outdoor shower right there that I use. You have the pit toilet right across. There's, I think, 3 or 4 of them in here. The camp host keeps them very, very clean. It is open only seasonal, spring to fall. They're actually closing the first week in October this year. So right before leaf season peaks, they're going to be closing. But it's great for fishermen. If you like to fish for, he said there's small brookies down there in the brook that's there. So it's definitely my favorite campground to stay at. So I hope it does help you pick what site you want and see what's available online. I am not sponsored by the campground or the White Mountains at all for this, but I figure if I could help somebody out picking their site so they know what's available before they get here, then they're good to go. All right, well, thanks for watching, and hope to see you on some of the other videos. Goodbye.